I don't want to say anything, but October.
Say it. Say it.
October. That's all.
You heard it here first. October. Mikey Darwish. We don't know what the hell it is, but something's going on.
October 2023. Be on the lookout.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Burd Files podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Burd Files podcast. Today we are recording episode 2 of season 2, and I am here with the long-awaited guest, Mikey Darwish. And I think it is, hell yeah. I think it is, we might as well just get straight into the introduction because I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this guy and figure out who Mikey Darwish is, what Mikey Darwish does, and everything else about it. So without further ado, Mikey Darwish has grown to become a staple in the New York and New Jersey DJ scene, and his presence on the Burd Files has been a long-awaited one. Mikey has been a friend of the Burd Files for many years now, and it is exciting to finally get the chance to have him on. His musical prowess and distinct stage aura have made Mikey a common name drop on the podcast. He has continually evolved in the music world as a DJ, starting with the small underground shows to opening for the likes of Uno the Activist and Sid Shane, going on a U.S. tour with Nissan Black and Kosha Dills. How do I say that? How do I say that?
Kosha Dills, you were right.
Kosha Dills. And opening for the Bass Jackers before he even turned 15. He's also expanded into the corporate spaces, having been booked by AC Milan to perform in the Puma New York flagship store, as well as a gig at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami, Florida. One admirable trait of Mikey's that I believe many people can serve to learn from is his loyalty to his friends and his consistency to play at events with Never Come Home and various other events put on by his homies. No matter the level of success he sees in his DJ career, Mikey is always there. His resume is as impressive as it is long, and without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce him to the podcast today, everyone. Mikey Darwish. Hello.
How are you doing today, Mason? I appreciate it.
I mean, I want to just kind of get straight into it and start learning about you and give the people an opportunity to learn about you. So, I mean, let's just start with a super basic, super broad. Who the hell are you? Who is Mikey Darwish?
All right. So, well, I mean, he said my name multiple times already. I'm Mikey, 22 years old from Brooklyn, New York. I am Lebanese Jewish. So not many people find that combo to be a thing, but it's a long story. I don't want to get into it too much, but basically through that, like, I've always been, tuned in with music. And when I was like maybe 4 years old, my dad actually classically trained me on this Arab drum called the darbuka, basically like this circular drum that you play kind of like this. And that's kind of how music started for me in a way. Where my love for music really started was, being trained on that. And then he also used to show me a lot of music from where he used to live in Lebanon. And that was kind of what propelled me further. Also, I had my mom. She was basically showing me a bunch of like 90s rap when I was growing up as like a 3-year-old. Probably shouldn't have been listening to that, considering the fact that I almost got suspended from kindergarten for knowing all the lyrics to The Ruler's Back by Jay-Z and doing it during recess. But yeah, that's music has always been a part of my life, as y'all could clearly tell, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, music is one thing. Creating, mixes and putting things together and making something that people want to hear, let alone like just vibe with. I mean, that is an art in and of itself. How did you get into mixing and DJing? Where did that start?
Because I'm on the Burd Files, I'm going to give the long story.
Let's do it.
I normally give people the short story, but I'm going to give the long story. So basically, I'd say about 11 years old. The only time I could ever hang out with like my friends after school was on a Friday. So I go on a Friday to my friend's house. His brother at the time was DJing. He wasn't doing anything like big or insane, but he was doing like a decent job. And so one day he just like pulls me over. He's like, "Yo, Mikey, do you want to try this?" I'm like, "I don't feel like I'd be good at it, but if you like kind of show me like what to do, I'd love to do it." So weeks go by. I'm at this kid's house every week. And first of all, I want to shout out Teddy. That's my friend, and Charlie, his older brother. they really kind of like gave me the foundations of how to DJ, what to do. I was learning on virtual DJ, which is kind of like a frowned upon software in the DJ world, but listen, that was kind of how I started out. And then also having a family friend of mine, Sammy Sabag, I want to give a big shout out to him. He's kind of the main reason I even know what DJing even is. Like, he kind of I told him like this is what I want to do, and he actually kind of helped me develop my skills a little bit as well. So yeah, shout out Sammy for that.
So when you say, so you started, you said 11 years ago is when you first got into it. So that is that what you, did I hear that right?
Yes, you're that
Okay.
right.
11 years ago. So that means that you're in your 11th year of your career as a DJ, or at least having gotten into DJing.
Yeah.
Where would you say, okay, if you were to tell your 11-year-old self, you said you're 22 years old, if you were to look at yourself at 11 years old and say, hey, Mikey, 10, 11 years from now, you're going to be headlining at these parties. You're going to be going on tour. You're going to be performing at the New York Puma store for AC Milan. What you believe in yourself? What's your reaction to that?
11-year-old Mikey, I don't know what he'd say, because 11-year-old Mikey at the time was just discovering what EDM really was, like the whole like house music, progressive house, and big room house. He was just kind of like getting into that genre as it was. So if I were to tell 11-year-old Mikey, you're doing all this, he would have been like, why am I not at Tomorrowland?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, I hear you. So that's actually a really interesting story. So from your friend's older brother is where this whole journey is kind of began.
My friend's older brother and a family friend named
And a
Sammy.
family friend who helped you develop your skills and really kind of put your foot in
Yeah.
the door. Okay, very interesting. Tell me a little bit about the difficulty of DJing. What makes a good versus a bad DJ? Like, because I feel like if you gave a soundboard to somebody, you taught them how to use it, people can play with the sounds. But what makes the difference between a good DJ and a bad DJ?
Well, a good DJ is someone who knows the two sides to DJing. The actual technical side, which is beat matching, tempo matching, knowing when to mix in, knowing a bit of music theory helps sometimes, and also like just a bunch of other things, knowing like how to use CDJs, knowing how to use a bunch of other things, and the the other side of DJing, which is just having the most fun ever, being able to read the crowd, knowing what they want to hear, mixing it with what you want to hear, and I feel like that's what helps the best. No, knowing what you want and then being able to project that onto the crowd with stuff that they want.
Okay.
That's the best thing.
So segueing into that, how do you know what the crowd wants? Because that is it's such a, like, I feel like that's such a subjective thing. You might have a split crowd. You might have somebody who wants one thing. You might have somebody who wants another thing. How do you know what the crowd wants? How do you control the crowd? How do you make it a good time for everybody?
I mean, kind of depends on like what the situation is. For example, if I'm doing a Never Come Home party, um, I'm gonna be doing mostly rap mixed in with like stuff that I kind of might have made in the studio, or like stuff that I want people to hear, but it'll be mostly like rap based and like just a bunch of other things. Like normally what I have people do is I have them send me Spotify playlists with what they want to hear.
Okay.
I'm looking for remixes, making mashups. Preparing sets does not like it's not an easy thing. That's I think the hardest part still today about like doing this. Preparing sets is always the hardest thing because you know what you want to hear. You don't know what that crowd wants to hear. So that's why I'm adamant on like understanding kind of what the hosts want, because in a way the hosts are the ones who are making the party. They're the ones organizing the whole thing. So I want to see what they really want. And I'm going to be like, okay, let's see what I can do here. Maybe I can like mash this up with this, or maybe I can work on like a remix of this, get it done in a few days, and then pump it out at first premiere at that party. I'm always thinking of like different ways to just incorporate what's like trending and what's hot into my sets as much as I can, because that's what people want to hear.
Right. So I mean, let's talk about that creative process, right? Let's say you're doing a never come home party, okay? How do you get that creative process flowing?
So mental preparation first and foremost. You have to really start thinking, start clearing your mind, kind of think think about it, sit on it, what you want to do for that specific event. Because at the last Never Come Home event, the one on June 8th, I was uh I was also in the middle of preparing for the show I had in Chicago with Uno and Sid. So I was really trying to like figure out what works best for Samaj first and then think about what's good for Uno and Sid like later on. So if I have two different gigs, I'm always like just in my head, kind of like trying to be set on one gig. And then when I have that mental preparation done, when I know I'm ready to physically prepare, that's when I get on Serato, when I get on Record Box, start preparing my like crates, my playlists, kind of getting everything organized, what I want to play, and what I think people want to hear. One song that I know like hits at every Never Come Home party, especially because we did a TikTok that got 1 million views, is Family Ties by Baby Keem. That
The
song,
trumpets.
the trumpets.
Yeah.
We the first party they had in January, I just uploaded like a video of me playing it from a different person's angle. It wasn't even my angle. And that video is currently sitting on like 1 million plus views. And within the first like few days, Axe commented on it, and I'm like, what? What? Axe, the deodorant brand? What are you doing in my comment section?
Right.
So after that, it became like a staple. Like I will play this at every Never Come Home event, just because of like the doability of it, how good it works with crowds. I don't know if you've even seen like when we did the coffee shop, bro.
Oh,
We
yeah.
played in the coffee shop.
It went crazy. I was watching the clip on the Instagram. Everyone's just going nuts, out of their minds.
Mind you, like probably 20 people can fit in that whole space all together. You just have like a bunch of us being all idiots, like, yeah, jump in that. I love that though. That's like I think like the best part of DJing. Like when you see just a bunch of other people like on your side, kind of like enjoying what you're playing. Never a dull moment behind the booth.
So I mean, is that what constitutes a good crowd? Just like being able to vibe with them, like because that's one of the questions I had was kind of like what makes a good crowd? Because I feel like you can have people who are having a great time and you can have a great time, but it can still be kind of mid. I don't know. Like I just feel like I've been to events where I've just been like, I'm having a great time, but like these people suck. What constitutes a good crowd for you as a DJ?
I mean, for me, a good crowd are just people who are receptive of what you're playing. Like simple as that. I have kind of a rule when I'm dealing with crowds. First, I want to build their trust, and you have to do this all in however much time you have. First, you want to build their trust, so you got to play stuff that they want to hear. Then, as soon as you're done building their trust, you want to go on and start gradually going to what you're gonna shock them with, like different mashups, remixes, all this stuff, and then they're gonna be like, "Yo, this guy is really good." And then as soon as you have that, as soon as both of those click, you have the best crowd in the world.
Right on. Right on. Okay. And then kind of going off of that, and like, let's just say you're noticing the crowd is not vibing as much as you would have anticipated. How do you adapt to that? What does DJ Mikey Darwish do to make a crowd go from zero to hero?
I mean, at that rate, it's kind of tough to get them back, but there's always one song. There's always a rule of thumb. There's always one song that can rope people right back into your set. So I was doing one event where I had to play like strict tech house and like deep house because I was DJing on like a beach or something. Oh my god, bad voice crack. And I was DJing on like a beach, and I was playing what I was told to play, but then I realized this isn't working. Let me switch it up. So I started playing some Spanish music, and it got people right back into it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think this is the vibe I'm gonna keep for a little bit. Then maybe gradually go back and see where it takes me. And did just that. Worked perfect.
Right on. Right on. Now, this is a fun one. What has been your best crowd you've ever had?
Oh my days. I'm gonna give you a top three just because
Give me a top three. Give me a top
I'll give you a
five,
top
damn it.
three. All right, top five. Okay, so first place, Never Come Home, Shake the World in January. First place easily. As soon as my set was done, everyone was like, Mikey, Mikey. I never had that in my life. So to have that was like, yeah, no, what did I just do? Second best crowd has to be when I was on tour with Nisim and Kosha. We hit Boston. That was the only venue I think we sold out on those 3 dates. And it's a Jewish music tour, so a lot of people are like used to hearing just a bunch of like religious music and stuff. I was playing like Donda and a bunch of like, clean versions of stuff, and they loved what I was playing. So yeah, Boston is definitely number two. Three was my crowd in the Fountain Blue. I love that gig to bits. Like just playing in Miami for the first time as well, like that was amazing. My fourth place would be my gig at the DL, club in Manhattan called the DL. It was my first time playing there. I was closing out the night. Overall, I think I did a decent job, and crowd seemed to like what I was playing. But obviously, a lot of people were just leaving because the night was like getting done. They were kicking people out, so couldn't do what I could do for so long. And then five was my crowd in Baltimore when I played Power Plant. This was recently, I think February. I was playing back to back with my old DJ partner from high school for the first time since like we went to college. And that crowd was just mad. They loved everything. But it was very like collegey, just like
Yeah.
play frat music the whole time.
I hear you. You got people jumping up with beers in their eyes. Hey, 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 hey.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. How about your worst crowd that you've ever had? I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I do want to hear this. I want to hear the good and the bad.
Okay, so I did this private event. It was an engagement for my friend. She basically hired me to do the event. She gave me all the songs she wanted to hear. That was fine. I'm playing whatever she told me to play. And at one part of the gig, her uncle comes up to request a song. Now, me and song requests were not really very good friends. We don't get along. I do not take song requests because I don't like to get thrown off while I'm DJing or just like have to pay any unnecessary attention to people who are just going to keep nagging me for stuff. And I don't like that. So her uncle comes up to me mid set. He asks if I have a song, and I went to look. I pulled him to my computer so I can look. And this guy is like, "Oh, how do you not have the song? Everyone has it. Don't let me see you outside of the gig. I'm gonna stab you, bro." I was like, "Over a song? Are you tripping?" That gig made me so mad that night. I literally left, called my friends. I'm like, "Yo, are you guys doing anything right now? I had a bad night. I need you guys now." They weren't doing anything. So I just drove over to their apartment and I was like, I'm knocking on the door frantically, like, "Guys, I had a terrible night tonight. Please let me stay for just an hour. I need a beer, something." All because, like, this guy wanted to fight me and try and kill me over not having a song. That was easily my worst.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Well, that's a pretty gnarly experience. I'm glad I got to hear about that. Again, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I mean, we are here to hear about Mikey Darwish.
I didn't name any names either.
No names were dropped. No names were dropped. And in this scenario, that is a very, very good thing. Damn, I had something. I had something on the tip of my tongue that I wanted to. Oh, yes. So you just said you don't take song requests, right? Now, Mikey, you are a unique DJ. You're yourself. And I'm sure that there are some unspoken rules within the DJ community, but I want to ask you, do you have any, aside from no song requests, do you have any specific things that you kind of have as a rule of thumb? I know you've talked about a couple things already, but your rules of thumb at the DJ turntable.
I mean, I feel like I don't know if there's any my personal. I feel like there's just like some unspoken rules in general and also like some actual general make sense no-nos.
Some common sense. Okay, well, walk me through them anyway.
Okay, so a big common sense no. Don't leave your drinks next to the DJ equipment. That's the first thing.
Okay, I have to ask, is that because you're going to drink them, or is that because you don't want your equipment to get ruined, or is it both?
The latter.
Okay.
I do not want my equipment to get ruined. I don't drink on the job ever. Not many people know that.
Wow, interesting.
And there's a story behind it. I'll get into it if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was DJing in Israel at some event that my cousin was throwing. Whatever. He hired a DJ, but the DJ wasn't doing too well. So he kind of just like sacked it off and left all his stuff. I just started going. I just plugged my computer in and started going. So I'm already like, I'd say 3 shots deep of Grey Goose, and then I'm on a vodka Red Bull as well. So I'm feeling a certain way. And they built a stage for the party, because parties in Israel, a lot of the time they put a DJ on like this very high stage, very extravagant, make him feel like
pedestal.
I decided to stage dive.
Oh my God.
And no one caught me. So from then on, I'm like, yeah, I'm done drinking when I DJ. Like, that is never happening again.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, I don't know if it was awesome for you then, but it's awesome to hear right now.
Yeah, no, I look back at it as a learning experience. Like, I just don't drink on the job because of that anymore.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So yeah, no drinking on the job, no drinks near me. Definitely an unwritten rule in the DJ community is the sync button, the forbidden button. So this, if you click on any like DJ controller or any CDJ, there's a button called the sync button. Basically what it does is it automatically quantizes your like beats and time, so everything is perfect. And it's so frowned upon within the community because it does it for itself, and it takes away the whole skill of DJing.
Right.
So I basically, when I was learning how to use CDJs from my friend David, he lives in Miami now, but he was teaching me how to make music and actually learn how to like DJ clubs. So I give him massive credit where it's due. Like, if David, if you see this, like, you're kind of the reason why today I'm as good as I am. Because if I never went to you, I would have been using the sync button the whole time. I started on like a $200 controller where the only way for me to properly like get everything in order was to keep pressing sync. And I knew that wasn't going to work out for me in the long term, because it just does it for itself and it takes away the whole skill. So that's like frowned upon. In the beginning, I also said virtual DJ is very frowned upon. I tend to see a lot of people use it in the hip hop community. I know Sid Shine's DJ Santiago uses it, and also 270. He's another hip hop DJ. He uses it as well. They're good at what they do, so I give them a pass. But a lot of the DJ scene nowadays is like Serato and Record Box Supremacy. Only use those if you have to use a computer, but if not, learn how to use USBs, because certain DJ controllers and like media players, they don't require you to have a computer. You can just plug in some USB sticks that are like encoded in a certain way, and then you get just music, and you have to know how to mix by ear. So yeah, basically it.
Okay. And so you've talked about it a little bit about how your that virtual DJ is frowned upon. Is it kind of similar to that sync button where a lot of it is done for you? What's kind of the deal with that?
I never understood it personally. I just know that it's very like entry level, and like you don't really see a lot of big people using it, let alone using a computer at all.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
To my understanding, it's just very like entry level, and like, yeah, can't use it. Doesn't happen.
Why should a promoter, why should somebody book Mikey Darwish over, another DJ out there?
Why are they booking me?
Why are they booking you?
Because I do things professionally, always there early, not even on time. I'm always there early. I'm always in close contact with whoever's booking me. I'm asking a bunch of questions before the gig so I don't bother them on the night. And I always bring always bring the best quality music wherever I can go. A lot of people like, especially some I've seen in like the New York underground party scene. I don't like what you're doing when it comes to throwing some stuff, because there's just a lot of like internalized misogyny when it comes to like certain DJs, and just like it just sucks. Like having to you have to book someone who you can trust is gonna be good and also bring you people. But on top of bringing people, you need to play well as well. I've seen people I've seen people DJ at gigs where they are terrible at DJing, but the only reason they're getting booked is just because, yeah, they can get 10, 20 people in the club. And it's sad because the quality doesn't matter to people anymore. It's just how much you can sell. One thing I absolutely hate, but that's just how the world is, and you can't control it.
And so you said a lot of your stuff is pretty like choreographed, right? Have you ever kind of just gone on a ditch? Like, have you ever been at a show or just maybe just in your crib and decided I'm gonna freestyle a little bit? I'm gonna just like see how this goes, and you've come out with something. You're like, damn, whoa! I'm feeling myself right now.
Shake the world.
Shake the
That
world.
Shake the world. That was one of maybe 3 gigs that I did not prepare for ever in my life, just because I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot it was happening the day before it actually happened. So I didn't sit down and prepare anything. I remember like halfway through my Friday night meal with my family, like, oh my God, I have a gig in like 3 hours. Shoot. Do I have enough time to prepare? I don't think I do, but I'll just go over there and see what happens. Turns out to be the best crowd ever. I was like, I remember looking at the wall in back of me like, whoa, I just totally winged that shit. And
Damn.
I was so proud of myself, bro. Like as soon as I heard people like screaming my name, I was like, okay, yo, what did I just do? And I was in disbelief, lost for words, bunch of other things.
That's pretty special, dude. What would you say are the biggest things that you've improved upon?
I would say mixing on CDJs. I feel like that's something I tend to practice as much as I can, just because I want to like hone my skills, make sure they're like tip top shape, learning when to filter, when to play with the EQs, when to time everything. Timing everything is definitely one thing that I pride myself in, just because your mix can't ever sound horrible. And that took me the longest. I would say maybe 4 or 5 years to actually get down perfectly. I say perfectly, it's not even that perfect, because sometimes I even mess up now. Like 11 years later, I'm still messing up timing and it kills me sometimes, but I always know there's another opportunity to get to fix it or like do something. Because one thing with DJing is that it isn't trial and error. You can't try something and see, you can only try it and see if it works if you're preparing. If you're in front of a crowd, you can't just like go on a wing and do what you do. So that's why I'm always like trying to hone my skills, make sure I'm not perfect, but close to it, and just be on point always.
Well, that's a pretty good standard to have. I mean, that explains a lot of why you're getting booked for these big things. But along with that, I do want to ask you, how does somebody who started out in the New York Underground get these big gigs? I mean, I talked to Samaj about how he, got to know these people, and he was like, bro, put your Instagram in my phone. I mean, that's his method, right? How did you go from, performing, starting out at these, underground events, maybe smaller parties, to hotel in Miami, to going on tour? I mean, where is the transition process? Who are you reaching out to?
I think overall it's like a game of connections that I've made. So with the gig at the Puma store, that all came from me just like going to a bar and watching games. Like that might be the weirdest way to have ever gotten like the biggest gig I've ever done, but literally just being at a bar in Manhattan watching my team week in week out, that was like that whole thing came from just watching soccer with a few people, not even a few people, the right people.
Right.
And I even remember getting the call for that. Like, I'm literally just at home. I was having a pretty bad day just because like work had me stressed out a little bit, and I was like, I don't know. I was like thinking about certain things. I was just having a bad day overall, and then I see a call from Franco Zagari, who's the head of the Milan club in New York City. I answer the call. I'm like, "Hey Franco, what's up?" And if he ever calls me, it means he has something for me to do for the Milan club in New York City. And he calls me. He's like, "Listen, so Puma are throwing an event because we have the Champions League semis in 2 days. They're looking for a DJ. Should I connect you guys?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
I stopped functioning for a minute. I left him on speaker. I'm like, "Sorry, Franco, I need a minute. Are you sure what you're asking me is like real? Like they called you that to ask if you might know a DJ, and this is all happening right now?" He's like, "Yeah, so as soon as you get off this call, I'm giving your number to Robin Cruz, head of head of marketing at Puma." And as soon as I was done with that call from Franco, I see Robin called, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's answer." From then on, I had a gig for one of the biggest soccer teams in the world.
That's crazy, dude. So when you say the AC Milan club in New York, is that just like what kind of is that? Is that like a watch party group? Is that who are they?
So basically, they're a bunch of like they're a bunch. They basically started out in New Jersey. I would say like 2008. Yeah, so in 2008 they started out in New Jersey, and they were watching in like this bar where it wasn't allowed to be very like energetic or very
Bad combo for soccer fans.
yeah, very energetic or very. It had to be toned down a little bit because it was a bunch of like an older crowd. So a few of the guys from the New Jersey club decided to venture out, find a new home to watch, and they stumbled on Legends on 33rd and 6th. And that place has fan clubs from all over the world. You have Manchester United fans, you have PSG, Chelsea, obviously us, um, Millonarios who are from Colombia, and every week they host their games, and it gets loud, rambunctious, and crazy down there. So for me to have like found them, and from that to be able to work with the team I've been watching since I was a little kid, like that was just wild to me. I couldn't speak that entire day. Like I couldn't vocalize it to my own mother of what gig I just had, what gig I just got.
That's crazy. And so I mean, you talked. This is kind of a change, a flip of the chapter. But you said you're working, right? You're also working. What's your day job?
I work for my father. Um, he's in a wholesale cigarette business. Because
Right.
one thing about like the money that I make from my day job, I reinvested into my music always. Reinvested into my music, going to shows, just like a bunch of things like that. And if I never reinvested that money, um, or had money, I don't think I would have met Samaj, which is insane.
Okay. Well, tell me about that. How did you guys meet?
So he created a group chat for everyone going dolo to the Jaden Smith show at Terminal 5. And I was added into that chat 3 or 4 days before the show by a friend of mine who was going named Ike. Now, Ike had been wanting me to go to the show with him. And I was like, yeah, I'll definitely go. Let me just see how much tickets are, this, that, and the third. So when I got paid, I put my ticket, bought my ticket, and then first person I see when I walk in is this dude wearing a pink ski mask and the other guy wearing a black mask. After the show, they take it off. It just turns out to be Drum and Samaj. And I'm talking to them. I was like, just talking to them about just like general things and a bunch of other things. And obviously, as you know, we kind of kept the chat going for longer. Started a little collective that didn't really work out as we wanted it to. And all throughout COVID, Samaj and I, we became closer in a way. I know it sounds so weird because like you're not like hanging out with anyone and like not doing much, but him and I would DM each other every day just about random stuff. Like we wouldn't talk about anything. And one day I bought my ticket for a golf ball, and then I'm like, shoot, I don't have anyone to go with. Hits me after I post my story, like, yo, who's going to golf ball? Need someone to go with, so I'm not like scared every day. That's literally what I posted. He's the first person to swipe up, like, bro, I got a ticket. Let's meet up every day before like the festival opens. We'll go check out like a bunch of unreleased acts, a bunch of other things. So Friday was just us. We were just chilling. We got to see this group that we both like called 99 Neighbors. I'm sure you heard of them through the work Never Come Home did with them. And we went to go see their show in November, the November after that golf ball as well, but that's a different story for a different day. And the Saturday was, I was just chilling by the GoPuff stand, not GoPuff, Grubhub stand, because they had like this place specifically like sponsored by Grubhub where you can order food and have it delivered to that booth. And they had a stage right next to it called the Grubhub stage. So I went to the Grubhub stage. A-Track was playing, and A-Track is like one of my few inspirations when it comes to like celebrities in DJing. He's one of like my very big ones. So went to go see him play, and then I seen a mosh pit on the left side for a house music set. So I'm obviously like weirded out, but in that pit I see Drem and I see Emmy. At this point, I didn't know Emmy. So I'm just going in having fun. And then all of a sudden after that, I see Emmy at Corday. I see Emmy at Amine. And I at this rate, I don't know who Emmy is. I'm just like having fun with him and stuff. And towards the end of Amine's set, I almost got injured. And the person who basically saved me from getting injured was Emmy. And so after that, we did that famous flick on Jose's Instagram where no one's tagged that he talked about in the last episode. But that was the day I kind of met all the Never Come Home boys. And fast forward 2 months later, I hit up Emmy like, bro, listen, I see you're doing Twitch. I know you like do podcasts and stuff on Twitch sometimes. Why don't we get together, me, you, Samaj, and Jose, and we record like a 4-man podcast, which is still up on YouTube that you can go watch the first episode.
You're gonna have to send me that link.
It is some of the most organic fun I have had with friends in probably anywhere. We were talking about just random thing. Jose was giving us like a science lesson. We had a Domino's mukbang mid podcast that was not planned. Like we didn't order any. We weren't thinking about ordering Domino's. Just an hour and a after, we're like, oh, we're all hungry. Why don't we get some Domino's? Just gamming on Domino's half the episode and talking about soccer, music, life experiences. And we did it a few more times, but then I remember one day I see on my phone Never Come Home. So I click on it. This is before the account went public.
Right.
So in the bio, it just says Samaj, Emmy, Jose. I'm like, hold on. Where are me and Diego? Why were we not consulted about this? So I spoke to Samaj about it, and he was just like, listen, we're trying to do stuff that doesn't require like audio or like music, but when we get to that point where we need music, you're the first person on the list. So that was kind of like, that's kind of why I call myself Never Come Home's resident DJ or Never Come Home's official DJ. Because every independent event that they do, I will always be there. Right. And I closely work with them to make sure everything runs perfect. At the last event, we got in early just so we could set up.
Right.
Like all together. I make sure I try to be involved with them as much as I can, help them wherever I can help them. Because those are like basically my brothers.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that connection is huge. And that's kind of the way that I found you and I was able to talk to you is through Samaj's connection and then eventually through Never Come Home. So that's really cool. You talked about one of your like large celebrity DJing inspirations Do you have any others? I mean, are there people that you like to riff off of that you've seen and you say, hey, that guy has good style or something, and I want to replicate it?
Everyone knows this whole like obsession with DJing wouldn't have started if it wasn't for Hardwell. Um, this is something I share with everyone, that Daft Punk could come out of retirement tomorrow, host a show, and if Hardwell's having one the same night in New York City, I'm going to see Hardwell. Like, there was also hold on. The weekend Hardwell came back from hiatus for Ultra Miami, there was the Steven Victor pop up in the city. So that was when the I Know Nego album came out. I was the only one that didn't go because I wanted to go see Hardwell come back at Ultra. That everyone knows I will miss anything to go see that man play. Like, if my own wedding is on the same night as Ultra Music Festival when he is performing,
You're going.
phone in hand, I'm watching the stream. Oh wait, shit, I'm getting married.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When did you realize that listening to and mixing music was a passion?
I mean, growing up, I was always musically inclined. Like I said earlier, my dad like trained me on the Arabic drums. My mom tried to get me to learn guitar. I was just way too lazy to like practice. If I could go back to my 8-year-old self and slap him just because he didn't practice guitar enough, I would any day, just because I feel like I would love to know it now. And I was always just constantly listening to music. Like, my dad, when I was 3 years old, got me the iPod brick. He got me an iPod brick, and I was like so grateful because he loaded a bunch of music. I had my mom load a bunch of music. I just wanted to see what they listened to, what they wanted to like put onto me and raise me with. So it's very different spectrums, like I mentioned earlier. My dad raised me on music from back home in the Middle East. So I would listen to a bunch of Arabic music, Hebrew music. He would raise me on French music because Lebanon's a former colony of France and they still like kept some French customs, French culture. And my mom raised me on like New York 90s rap because she grew up here in the 1990s. She was a teenager in the 1990s. My mom prides herself in it, especially like we were talking about it today. I'm like, why of all the things you would show me as a kid, like mothers nowadays show their kids like Coco Melon and like that's like their knowledge of music. Like they got Wheels on the Bus. I had allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hove as a 3-year-old, and I'm like, we talked about it today, my mom and I, and she's like, maybe I shouldn't have, but in hindsight, I don't think you would be the person like you are now if I didn't.
Right. Super huge influence on your life, having that kind of musical background from such a young age. I mean,
Yeah, my mom and dad raised me on just like a bunch of different things, and I credit them for it so much because especially today, like if I'm like practicing in the basement, my dad comes down. I tend to like mix a lot of Arabic music, so he comes downstairs and comes to watch. It's the only thing that'll get him off the couch. But yeah,
that's fire, dude. Okay. So, what are some of your favorite artists, just musical artists in general? And then also, who are some of your favorite artists to mix? Like, do you have some go tos? I know you said you have some go to songs, but are there specific artists that you draw from? And also, who are you just listening to when you're taking a shit?
loaded question, but here we go. Cause we on the Burd Files. I got time. Basically, I would say my favorite artists. I mentioned it before. Hardwell, one of them. I was listening to Skrillex early on when I started like kind of fantasizing about the whole like EDM world and just like I want to be like Skrillex. I want to play at Tomorrowland. I want to play at this that festival. And I mean, Hardwell, Skrillex. I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan, huge ASAP Rocky fan. Samaj and I, like, we still get along a lot because we both are enamored by ASAP Rocky, and we tend to like copy his aesthetic as much as we can. Rocky is such like a big part of my like early teenage years, not even early teenage years, like my preteens as well, when I was like 11, 12. Because back in the day on Spotify, they should never have taken this away. They used to have a DM feature within Spotify where if you followed your friends on Spotify, you could DM them songs and they followed you back. You could just DM each other songs.
It's so frustrating when I find a fire song. I gotta like text it to the homie, and I'm sending them like a 170 character link, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying.
Back in the day, Spotify had a DM feature within their app, and me and my cousin, we were constantly sending stuff each other back and forth. One day he sends me Good Kid, Mad City, and that same day he also sends me ASAP Rocky's first album, the one that he released with fucking Problems, Wild for the Night. So I listened to both of them because I had a day off school. I came back to him like, bro, this is some of the best stuff I've ever heard in my life, like rap wise. So much better than like still listening to Jay-Z's like classics nowadays, because this is something new, something fresh. I appreciated it for the time that it came out. And still nowadays I do, but not as much because sounds change over like such a drastic period. And that kind of ties in with like artists that I like to mix, because as much as sounds change, you get new artists pioneering the sound, doing well in the sound. So nowadays, like a lot of my, if I'm doing hip hop, a lot of my mixes are centered around Cardi, Uzi, Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely, Lancey Foe, Yeet, and just a bunch of those guys, because that's what kind of works with hip hop crowds nowadays. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my EDM stuff now, 10 years ago, I was listening to this genre called Big Room, which is like meant for festivals and clubs, very loud, punchy sound, very based around like just pure energy. And a lot of the guys who were pioneering it are still some of my favorite artists today. Hardwell, Martin Garrix, Tiesto, Armin van Buren. And nowadays, Martin's sound changed. He does like progressive house and electro house. Hardwell went to techno, so I went with him in a way. So nowadays, a lot of my like music that I'm making and a lot of the stuff that I do want to play is more like techno based, very like Charlotte DeWitt based as well. She's another great artist. Not influenced by her because I only became a fan recently, but she's just in general one of the craziest artists I've heard, and definitely like a good center for females who want to be in the EDM scene. Like she definitely pioneered something and is one of the best techno artists I think ever to make the genre. Like, so a lot of when I'm mixing techno based on her, based on Hardwell, based on this artist named Ramon Tapia, he's amazing. This other artist named Attack. Basically, I think the crowd depends on who I'm gonna play, who and what, in a way.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of contemporary stuff, you were talking about how the music has been changing with the times. The crowd, what they want to hear has been changing with the times. What about you? What is the album right now that you can have for repeat? You can listen to it 10 times in a row and you are fine.
I'm about to show y'all. Give me a minute. Right here. Fred Again's Actual Life 3.
Okay.
Fred Again has been bursting. It hasn't even been a year, and this guy's name is through the roof. Hasn't even been a year since his Boiler Room came out. And in the last 11 months, he's sold out Forest Hill Stadium in New York before the shows even happen. They're happening in October. He headlined Coachella with Skrillex and Fortet. His Boiler Room is, I think, one of the most viewed in the history of the channel. And getting to hear his album was the first time I actually truly got to hear his creative genius and the work he's done on his own. Some of the stuff he's done on that album is incredible. He got to work with 070 Shake, which is like mind-blowing to me considering I've been listening to her for a little bit. And she's also like the epitome of making it out like your own hometown, doing whatever it is. Because 070 Shake, she's Jersey based, and making it out of Jersey is not as competitive, but definitely up there. Because once you make it out of Jersey, get to New York. Once you get to New York, you can get to a bunch of other places. So I give Fred again a bunch of credit for what he's done in the last year. Massive respect.
Awesome. So riffing off of that New York thing that you just talked about, how has living in New York and being around that creative scene, that space, how has that impacted you and helped you develop not only as a creative but also as a human?
I mean, New York is a very vibrant city, bunch of different cultures. We always call New York the melting pot. I feel like even if you don't live in New York, you hear the word New York is a melting pot of different people. And it's so true when it comes down to the wire because you can go, especially where I am in Brooklyn. I'm in South Brooklyn. So I live near Coney Island. I live near Bay Ridge. My area is a very Jewish area. You go over one neighborhood, it's a very Russian area. You go over the next neighborhood, it's a very Arab populated area. And through being in these areas, you get to experience different things, taste different foods, learn a lot about different cultures. And even going to Manhattan, you have a bunch of like different neighborhoods. You have Midtown for all like the rich and snooty. You have some other parts of the city that are very like I guess gentrified, but back in the day weren't as gentrified. You got the Bronx, which is like the epicenter of hip hop, birthplace of hip hop, even. And even the street where hip hop was birthed on, there's a sign that marks it because it's such like a big genre over here, and it defines the city in a way. A lot of the biggest hip hop artists from back in the day came from here. Nas, Wu Tang, Jay Z, Tupac was even born in New York. Not many people know that. And Biggie Smalls. It living here kind of defines like how I am musically just because of like all the different cultures I grew up around, all the different people I've seen, different shows I've been to. New York is, I think, the best place for music, but the one genre that I like and I'm working in, Miami's like the real epicenter of it. So can't have everything, but I love New York so much just because I feel like it gives you a lot, especially as a creative.
Awesome. Awesome, dude. Okay. Well, I've asked a lot of the questions that I've had, to ask, but I do want to know, what are you doing in the future?
So as a lot of people know, next month is my birth month, August. So I tend to think about doing like a bunch of different like functions on my birthday. I try to host something where I can like share music on my birthday. I've been fortunate enough to do it the last couple of years, which has been a blessing. 2 years ago, obviously, my friend Nestle, she kind of gave me a whole space and like a platform to bring my friends, have a whole night of just fun. And I had two of my friends who are upcoming rappers, Eden and Austin Skies. They were able to share their creative muse that night, and then I closed off the night with a set, which was amazing. Last year, my parents built a club in our backyard at our summer house, and they let me cook. They invited all their friends to have a crowd. I couldn't invite any of mine, which pissed me off, but it was. I still had a great time, even though it was my birthday and I should have had control over who came, mom and dad. But yeah, that
Okay. No, go. Sorry, I'm cutting you off here. My
also
bad.
be on the lookout for Project Progressive Violence with my boy Danny. That's gonna be what we're doing. Is basically we thought about this for a long time when we went to Canada together. We went to Canada for Rolling Loud, and we were like, listen, one day we should just throw a set where we started off with like a bunch of like chill like house music, just stuff you would listen to on the beach. And then as the night goes, or as the set goes on, the music progressively gets harder and harder and harder. And at the end, we ended off with the trumpets. That is the hardest song ever.
Valid.
We're still looking for venues on it, but we know we want to do it next month before he moves to Colorado. So I'm hoping that can actually be like my birthday celebration. That would actually be really sick, especially because my birthday's on a Friday and you can draw a lot of people out at night on a Friday.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't want to say anything, but October.
Say it. Say it.
October. That's all.
You heard it here first. October. Mikey Darwish. We don't know what the hell it is, but something's going on.
October 2023. Be on the lookout. Me, Brian's Flair, Urbex Daniel. Be on the lookout. That is going to be a packed month with a bunch of stuff within the same week. That's what I'm going to reveal.
Well, we're going to have to clip that, and we're going to have to make a little post about that. Maybe draw some viewers in, eh? All right. Well, Mikey, that is kind of all I've got for you today. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about that I missed? And feel free to call me out, because if there's something you want to talk about, I want to give you the platform here, right now.
First of all, I want to thank Mason for his time. I know we've been trying to do this for a long time, and I was patient. I was as patient as I could be, but
you absolutely were.
Like, I remember early on, I was definitely pressing you in DMs like, I want to do this so bad. Mason, please. Like, and you still have a growing platform. I appreciate everything like you've done, especially when it comes to like putting Samaj on, putting Drem and Dom on. Like, those are like brothers to me who I've known for so long, and we all still keep in contact to this day. And because of that, because of like you putting on for a bunch of like smaller guys in the creative industry, like you definitely like pave a path for a lot of people to get their name out and do what they do best. So thank you for that, Mason. Also, hopefully new music soon if I get off this writer's block. That's definitely something I want to release my first solo song, because I've been making a bunch of songs and I haven't really been proud of them. But definitely when I find something that I'm proud of, I will absolutely put it on all DSPs just for you guys. And like I said, be on the lookout for October. We have a lot of news rolling out hopefully soon, whenever we get the green light. And yeah, shout out Never Come Home for literally everything leading up to this point, because I would not be here without them.
That's awesome. Well, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. I want to roll the red carpet out for you. Shout out anyone you want to shout out. Send me the links to anybody you want linked below, and I'll have them in the description. So go for it. Tell the people what you want to tell them. I know you've already given them your October drop, but just go for it. Any names you want to throw out there, Instagrams, Twitter, Snap, whatever you want to put on there, say it now, and I'll make sure it's in the description below.
All right. So on Instagram, I want y'all to search up Brian's Flair, and I want y'all to search up Urbex Daniel. Give them a follow. Search up Never Come Home, and each individual member of Never Come Home, give them a follow. David Nachmani, Dysomnia, the guy who taught me how to use CDJs, the guy who taught me how to hone my skills and be the best that I can be right now, give him a follow. My boy Sharel, we've been DJing together since high school. Give him a follow as well. Those are all my guys. People who I'm going to be at the top with in 5 years. Just saying that now.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, I want to thank you once more for coming on. It's been a long time coming, and I really appreciate your time. And do not sleep on Mikey Darwish. And let me tell you something. 3, 4, 5 years time, when Mans is in Miami and one of the biggest DJs in this scene, I'll be damned. He'll be back on the Burd Files to talk about that progress. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Ultra. So that's another thing.
There we go. All right. Well, I thank you everybody for listening, and thank you, Mikey, and everyone. Have a great day.